got at home. Both of them won as expected. And Man City, for the 4th year in a row, are league champions, Premiership champions. And they finished very strong. Now, in fairness to Arsenal, they kept it up to the very finish. They won their last 5-6 games. But again, Man City, like the last number of years, I think they won the last 8 or 9 games this year, but they won when they had to. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, one with the hat to Paul. Deserving champions indeed, Paul. I think Arsenal will be kicking themselves that with all the recruitment they've got in this during the year. You know, Declan Rice, 100 million man, huge improvement in their midfield, and players scoring from all. I think that actually, if you look at the goals score, I think the goal difference was actually the same, 62 in each. So I think Arsenal might have had scored more goals. I think they kept more clean sheets in it because David Raya got the clean sheet award there for the season. Yeah, this is probably the year that Arsenal probably felt they could and probably should have won it. If you look back a couple of weeks ago, Paul, that defeat they had at home to Aston Villa, that was the killer one, I think. Obviously it goes now. I think if they'd won that game, they would have probably won the title. I think it might have gone to goal difference or might have gone to goal scored even. So I think this is probably the one Arteta will be thinking, what more can we do? But Arsenal are now probably in the same position the last couple of years where Liverpool are. You just have to be ruthless when you're dealing with Manchester City, because they will be. They won the league last season on 89 points. They got 2 points better now with 91. The thing, if you look at the table now, the thing that's in favour of Manchester City is the defeats. They've only lost 3 games all season. Arsenal have lost 5, and Arsenal have drawn 5. That was those defeats, I think, in around Christmas time. That's where I think Arsenal fans will probably feel they lost it. They lost to Fulham away, poor performance. I think that Arsenal fans feel that was probably the worst performance of the season. And they lost 2-0 at home to West Ham United. That's 6 points against teams that should be beaten, Paul, to be quite honest with you.
And in fairness, the 2 teams are down the lower half of the table, was that?
That's right, yeah. You know, West Ham, they finished just below Manchester United in 9th. But West Ham, yesterday with Man City, I think it was probably the perfect opposition, Paul, because Dave Moyes is leaving. I know Dave Moyes has done a great job for West Ham. I think he's been harshly treated, I think, by the fans, maybe a little bit in terms of playing style. But I think he's done a good job. He brought him a European trophy last season. You know, they gave it a good battle. I didn't think West Ham would get hammered like that 5 or 6-0. Like they have taken some beatings away from home this season, but Man City won 3-1. Arsenal lucky enough to win against Everton in the end, Paul. I think there was a controversial goal for Arsenal, their second goal. People say it was a handball in the build-up, but the referee checked it and he was happy enough and he stood his on-field decision. So Arsenal ended up winning the game 2-1. But yeah, I think, Man City, this is 4 in a row. First time it's ever been done, Paul. Premier League or even First Division before that. We've had some great teams, though. I think the record was, Huddersfield back very early days in the
1920s.
That's right. You had Manchester United with Ferguson twice, winning 3 in a row. But this is the first 4 in a row, Paul, and I don't think it'll ever happen again. To be quite honest with you.
So I know just when you're at it, Arsenal won 3 in a row in the 30s, and they actually had the same manager at Huddersfield and Arsenal. Well, his name just escapes me now, but he was at Huddersfield first, but then he went to Arsenal. And I think he won 3 in a row.
Was it Chapman, Paul, no?
Herbert Chapman is the man. Now, I think he died before the third one won, but his team, they won the 3 in a row. Liverpool won 3 in a row in the 70s, early 80s, and Manchester United did it. So, now, we have to talk about, there's an elephant in the room of Manchester
big
City.
time.
This financial, I know you were going to come to, but this financial fair play, there's over 100 charges they're faced. This is going back a number of years. And we do know this year, down the bottom of the table, Nottingham Forest got a 4-point deduction. Everton got a 6-point deduction, I think, after appeals. So if only one of them charges stuck and they lost 4 points, they had lost the league title this year. I can't recall last year, but I also, in the last of the 6 league titles that Guardiola has won in Man City, Liverpool would have won 2 more of them because they were less than 4 points, 4 or 5 points. So you could say potentially Man City could have lost 3 of them titles. Now, will it happen retrospectively? I can't see it, but there is that asterisk over it. And especially this year, when we saw 2 teams, and including Nottingham Forest, almost get relegated because of points deductions. So what are your thoughts on that? We have to talk about it.
They had a 2-year ban actually overturned for the Champions League. They were actually banned from the European competitions, but they got overturned by I forget the name of the association.
Court of arbitration, is it?
Yeah, that's right. They got overturned, and I think actually the year they won the Champions League, they were meant to be if the ban had struck, I think they would have been out of it, and I'm open to correction on that. But yeah, it's the big elephant in the room. Now, I don't blame Pep or the players, but let's stress, Paul, Pep and those players would be there if it wasn't for the money and what brings the players to the club. Manchester City, before, people say, oh, like who has the best Premier League record? Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, and all. I would say all those other clubs in City, because at the end of the day, up until 2012, City had done pretty much nothing in the Premier League.
No, they were back in the 1970s. They had a good team. I think they won a league title in the late 60s. They won a European trophy. They won a league cups up to about the late 60s to the mid 70s. But after that, they weren't really in contention with that.
Oh yeah, I totally accept that. I think even around Matt Busby's time, I think when United actually won the European Cup with George Best, City actually won the league that year. I'm not just scouting their history at all. Before that, but I'm talking like, say, around Premier League style times.
Yes.
My own times that I can remember. And City were getting relegated. There was a famous time when they were drawn 2-2 with Liverpool, and I think word had got onto the pitch that some of the team had scored and they were staying up, and I think Niall Quinn ran onto the pitch saying, no, the goal's been disallowed. We're going down as it is. It was, I think, even if you look at, I think even Noel Gallagher, the Oasis times, people used to call this City ISIS. It would mess up all this sort of things that happen. Now that sort of club is sort of gone now, Paul. The old City is totally gone, and it's brought into a new money making machine. To be quite honest, no, I can't say too much about. I'm a Chelsea supporter, but at the end of the day, Chelsea were owned by one billionaire. There's an awful lot of things happening with Manchester City where certain clubs of fans and others are saying they're state-owned. Now, we can't really. That's only an allegation. We can't really say that.
But I suppose the one thing we can talk about, there is 100 charges outstanding, and the talks are going to chicken, but that we can talk about that. That's on the record books. You know what I mean? They're potentially facing it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think nothing's going to happen. Obviously, now that the end of the season has happened, you would assume that surely now Everton and Forest will be looking on this, and the Premier League will be looking at this. Then, come on, lads. Eventually, a decision is going to have to be made. Now, I think if a decision is made, I think they're going to face a massive points deduction. I'm talking only 50, 60 points deduction. Because with all those charges, Paul, don't forget Everton and I think Forest were guilty of one charge, if I'm not mistaken. One or two. They got deducted 10 points, Everton, let's not forget. So if you have 115, I think some of them are for non-cooperation with the Premier League over financial statements and not being shown the books and stuff like that. That's what's been alleged. Now, they have to come down hard on Manchester City for that. Now, City will have their day where they can show, look, we are cooperating, we have nothing to hide, but let's have that day in court, or let's have that day in the. I don't know exactly how the Premier League are going to do it, but I say, Paul, this could run even further. I think if a punishment is given out to Manchester City, like I've said, they'll have the best lawyers, they'll have the best legal team. This could end up in court in England. This could end up, God knows where, and this could actually destroy the league.
Yeah, we'll move on now. But what I'll say is this: my opinion is they're talking of changing the rules. Maybe the start of next season or the start of the season afterwards, they'll give them a points deduction. They'll settle for one charge, take a points deduction, take a massive fine, and then they'll wipe the slate clean with the rest of them. That's what I think they'll do. But it'll be next August or the year afterwards. But you can forget about the 115. They'll be all wiped out down to one or two. They'll accept one or two, maybe accept a 10-point or a 4 or 6-point deduction at the start of the season, and that'll allow them to come back into the top 4 anyway. But anyway, there's nothing we can solve it here. That's next season. But in fairness to Guardiola, he has complete control that he's able to marshal his players. We do know other teams' players fall out and they don't get on. So in fairness in that, and he's done it every year when it matters, they win the last 7-8 games. And I know he has the money and the asterisks is there, we've talked about it, but you just have to mention that he's there to keep all these stars happy and keep them playing.
Oh yeah, the football side, Paul, it's a brilliant run club in terms of on the pitch. Pep gets the absolute limit out of these players. 91 points. I mean, every season, I know they won the league title in 89, but if you're going to be challenging City, it looks like you're going to have to get over 90 plus. And Liverpool know all about it. I mean, a couple of seasons ago, I think in the 2018-2019 season, Man City got 98 and Liverpool finished second. I think the highest points total ever for a second place team was 97. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, and 2 years ago, Paul, Villa were 2-0 up away to Manchester City. City came back 1-3-2. Liverpool won their game as well. I think in the end of the season, it finished with Man City, I think, 93 and Liverpool 92. I mean, that's unbelievable points when you think about it. I mean, the Arsenal Invincible team, I think, 126 with the draw 12. They didn't get anywhere near the points totals that Liverpool got and City got in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So,
we've two things to discuss. Just a quick word on Liverpool finishing third and Aston Villa finishing fourth qualifying for the Champions League next season.
both qualifying for the Champions League. Klopp's last game, of course, yesterday. I suppose very emotional for the Anfield crowd. I mean, he's left Liverpool in a much better condition than he did when he came in. To be fair, I think Liverpool were 10th. I think when he signed the contract and became Liverpool manager. They were recovered well from last season, but I think they fell away at the end of this season, Paul. I think. Excuse me. I think Liverpool will be very disappointed with where they finished the season. But I think get back into the Champions League, new manager, be new surroundings for him. Liverpool will probably come again next season, but it's going to be tricky for a new manager. We've seen it in the past, Paul. You know, when Ferguson left Manchester United, they struggled. Yeah. When Wenger left Arsenal, they struggled. So Arne Slot, he's going into a big job. He's probably going to need all the help he can get. He needs a good start. So that's going to be very interesting. Liverpool. Yeah. Aston Villa have been brilliant. Unai Emery, you know, former manager of Sevilla and Villarreal and Arsenal as well. I think they've started in the last couple of games, Paul. You see 2 red dots there. They got absolutely hammered against Crystal Palace, but I'm afraid they're on the beer all week because they're guaranteed Champions League on Tuesday night. So yeah, and I think, Paul, just looking at the 5th, 6th, and two teams there.
Chelsea and Spurs are,
Chelsea, Spurs, and United. I think, and Newcastle as well. I think I'd be very harsh, probably won't be very harsh, but if you look at the most criticism I would give for 3 teams this year, Tottenham, Chelsea, and United, because I think Newcastle, I didn't expect them to be able to cope with the Champions League football. But, you know, I know my own club with Chelsea, we made a late burst and we got 63 points. But I think if Tottenham, Chelsea, and United had any way half decent seasons, I think they should have been able to catch Villa in 4th. I'm not discounting Villa, but I think with the budget and the players that 3 teams have, I think if one of them had to put a very good run near the end of the season, I think they would have got 4th.
One question about Chelsea before we move on to the Europa League. I think he's a good manager, Pochettino. I think his record is good. You know more about it. Behind the scenes, there's obviously trouble. It took him a while to get a handle on it. But since Christmas and the New Year, he has picked up with them. And they've finished very strong. You'll see them on the table, 5 wins in a row. I think they got 6 or 7 wins in a row. So whatever the problems are, I think he's a good manager. I know some of the Spurs don't like him with the teams in the past, but I think he's got a handle on it. Now, it's going to be very interesting now next season. Will he be able to keep the players and keep his handle on it? Because you mentioned the 3 clubs there. Manchester United, they're a shambles behind the scenes. That's why they're a shambles on the pitch. Spurs has been in trouble on and off the pitch too, even though their manager has tightened them up a small bit too. But in Chelsea, in fairness to them, I think it'll be very interesting now. The manager, he's a good manager. I think he is trying to sort it out. Will they keep with him now for the summer and support him? Because they seem to be, as you said, they have the players and they seem to be that he's getting them going the right way.
Yeah, Paul, I think this is point I think with Chelsea. 6th place at the start of the season was the bare minimum for me. Europa League football, or at least challenger for the Champions League. Chelsea had a massive squad. Now we had a huge amount of injuries. Now, I think he made unnecessary changes. I think the team selections were bamboozled a lot of Chelsea fans. There's always that Spurs thing, Paul. There were Spurs and Chelsea absolutely hate each other. That's common ground, like. I said at the start,
But he's doing it all. He's turning them around since the New Year, in fairness. The results are on the table, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah. He has improved. He's improved the team, and it couldn't get much worse last season when we were finishing 12th and having 3 managers in the one season.
Yeah.
But I do think next season is big for him. Excuse me. I think now he has to, obviously, with the injuries, the amount of games, that's probably going to be very, very difficult. There's going to be a few players that are going to have to leave, Paul, because of the financial fair play. It's more, I think now the focus that we picked up at the end of the season, the focus is now going on to the board, Paul, and our transfer policy. We have to buy in another Brazilian player there now, but it looks to us for about, is it 50 million or something like that? Yeah. And I find this crazy because he's only a very young fella. We're doing something like compared to what Niall Forrest are doing, bringing in young players, developing them, getting the best out of them, then maybe selling them on. But if you're Chelsea, we want the players to stay and we want to be challenging for titles. We don't want to be selling them on for massive profit. Financial fair play is going to be a big one for us as well. There's talk that players like Conor Gallagher, Ian Maxson, that's on loan at Dortmund, because he's homegrown, because he came through the academy, we're going to get 100% profit when he's sold. So there's going to be a lot of players coming in and going out, and the squad is going to have to go a little bit smaller because we have too many players